Hey everybody, Ask Me Anything AI, sponsored by Berries.icu/therapist. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I'm here to pretty much answer anything you could think of with the topic of AI. Somebody had asked me about how can I use AI as a virtual assistant? So I'm glad you asked. I actually did a whole module on this last month in the Clinical AI Club, which is www.clinicalaiclub.com. It's a monthly membership. It's $9 a month, super affordable. But every month I put a different module in where I talk about prompts you can use. I usually do like a tutorial video to give you guidance on something. But last month was how to use ChatGPT as a personal assistant. ChatGPT is the one I use. You can use lots of them. But if you go to the app on ChatGPT, let's see, right here, this app, you download it to your phone and go to a new chat thread. It's the headphones where you can click it and ChatGPT will start basically a conversation with you. So let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, you click the little headphones and it comes up like this. You say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to talk to you about what we're going to have for dinner tonight. I'm gluten-free. I can't eat gluten or dairy. So can you help me plan something to make for dinner tonight? Anyway, while it's thinking, usually you could talk to and have a conversation with it. I was showing this to my friend Amber yesterday. I had a podcast interview that I had coming up and I wanted ChatGPT to act as
Let's plan a delicious gluten-free and dairy-free dinner. For the grilled chicken, you can marinate it in olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, and your favorite herbs.
It's being a little temperamental right now, but you could have a conversation with ChatGPT just like that. I was telling my friend Amber yesterday that I used ChatGPT to help me prepare for a podcast I had to do. So I knew they were going to ask me certain questions. I hate public speaking. You wouldn't know it, me being on here like this right now, but I told it the questions that they were going to ask me in the podcast, and I asked it to do like a mock interview with me, like an assistant would or like a friend would, to ask me questions, and I was able to practice with ChatGPT. So that's one way you can use it as an assistant to just hit that microphone and go back and forth with it around a different topic that you want to talk about. You could turn the microphone off and you could type, and then it'll still have the conversation with you later. It sort of follows the chat thread. So you can hit that anytime and talk to it like you would a personal assistant. Something we talk about in the AI Club was even last month, I still am using it, but I set up like a personal assistant with ChatGPT around my dad's diabetes and his insulin and the fact that he's been diagnosed with dementia. My sisters and I were coming in, we're having to like take over, but it was a ton of information. It was a lot to keep up with. I had my own schedule going on at the same time. So I was talking to ChatGPT like an assistant. I was saying, okay, I just, met with the doctor over video. Here's the transcript. I was uploading the transcript from my appointments with his doctors and saying, I want you to take everything that we talked about in this appointment and turn it into a summary. One of the doctor's appointments was talking about changing insulin doses and all that stuff. And I said, from this transcript, tell me what the doctor said about the dosages. And then I asked it to put it into a chart for me. So, and I just kept updating. Well, all right, now we went to the urologist. The urologist said this, or I talked to the neurologist and the neurologist said this. So it's now got this database essentially of all this information about my dad's doctors, his health conditions, even like, what should I make for dinner to make sure it's diabetic friendly, that sort of thing. That's all in this chat thread that I'm using as a personal assistant to help me basically monitor my dad and help my dad with what's going on with him. So I'm using it as an assistant that way. And then it's amazing because it remembers all this stuff. So I come back and say, hey, when my dad had that appointment with Dr. So-and-so last week, they mentioned that he should, take this supplement. What was that? And it'll go back and search all the information I've given it and recall it for me and give it back to me. So that's one way to use it as a personal assistant. Just like with personal things going on in your life, you could talk back to it like you would an assistant. Basically say, what did we say about that or that date, or what was my idea around that meeting I had, that kind of thing. As long as you're feeding it the information, it can give you information back and it can help you keep track of things. So for the person that was asking about that, let me see. Brianna, that's one way to use it as a assistant. Another way is another training that I did in the Clinical AI Club is how to build your own GPT through ChatGPT. If you have the paid version, you have the option to basically create your own personal, like they call it a GPT, but it's like a chat bot basically. But what you do with it, it's kind of complicated on the back end, but I go all through it in the training in the AI Club. You go in and you basically configure it the way you want it to. Most of your options are you can have it search the web, you can have it like draw images for you, and you can also click the button for analytics. So it can be a lot more sophisticated if you need it to be. And that's where you can start linking other apps into your GPT. You can connect it to your Google Calendar. So I showed how to do a lot of that in the Clinical AI Club last month. But this GPT, I have a ton of them. I wish I could show you. I've got a GPT for treatment plans. I've got a GPT for progress notes. I've got a GPT for blog writing. I've got GPTs for anything really you can think of. I have a lot of like brand deals and partnerships. Berries is one of them that sponsored this particular Ask Me Anything that I'm going to do every single week. But I have GPTs built for all of those. So I've trained the GPT to know like my brand, my voice, my interests, my personality, all of that stuff. So these GPTs know a lot about me. And if it's like, let's say it's one about writing blog posts, I'll put some examples of previous blog posts that I've written and the way I talk and write, the way I say things, the way I phrase things, all of that. Videos like this, I would download this transcript. I'd upload it so it knows how I talk, how I say things, how I think, what my personality is like. And you can train these GPTs around all of that information. You can upload documents, you can upload transcripts, just tons of information to help it understand you and your personality. And then you could tell it, I want you to act as a personal assistant to guide me through this process. Or, I want you to check in with me when I log in and ask me about any updates with my, clinical CEU hours or anything like that you want it to track for you. You can use it as a personal assistant that way. But yeah, so there's tons of ways to use it as a personal assistant. I could give you 1,000 ideas around it. But another thing people don't realize with ChatGPT is you could type in, give me some ideas of how you could act as my personal assistant, and it's going to help guide you through that too. So those are just some suggestions and ways you can start using it as a personal assistant. I hope that helps. Let me know if you do use it as a personal assistant. Tell me how it's going. It really helps me a lot, especially keeping track with like information that I'm having to add every single day. If you're not using any PHI, you can even use it for clients. So you can like call the chat thread, like a beach ball. If this client reminds you of a beach ball for some reason, like you had a conversation about that or something, you can label it that way and you could just make little notes in there. Obviously no PHI. You don't want it to be anything identifiable because ChatGPT is not HIPAA compliant, but you can just make little notes and you can come back and say, what was that I needed to remember about this person? And it'll say, oh, you mentioned that this person likes to go to the beach and feels anxious. I don't know, when people are playing volleyball because she wants to join in, but she's too nervous to ask or something like that. You can put little details like that in there and you can go back and say, can you remind me about what we talked about? Or can you remind me what I said about volleyball and this play? I can't remember exactly what it was. You can make little notes like that to yourself and it keeps these chat threads going for you. So those are just some ideas. I hope that helps. So if you have questions, thoughts, anything you want to know, it doesn't have to be related to private practice, anything AI, I'm happy to answer it here and give you some advice and instructions and direction around it. Okay. Again, this is sponsored by Berries, Berries.icu/therapist. I highly recommend you guys check them out. They're super innovative. I'm working with them in a consulting capacity. So I am like the therapist voice that's helping guide the way they design these products. So if you tried out Berries and you've got questions, you've got thoughts, things that could be different, I want to hear that too, because I want to advise them on how to make it literally the best AI note writing product out there for therapists. So I'd love to hear your feedback about it. But also if you haven't tried them out, go try them out because they have 20 free sessions. And then for smaller practices that don't have a lot of clients, they give you 10 free every single month and you don't even have to put your credit card in. So I definitely recommend checking them out. They released a new way basically to do this, and you could save multiple note formats. You can basically upload your personal template and have it remember. So then every time it writes a note, it's going to write it exactly in that format that you love to have it in. So I tell people in the AI Club, go, if you're like insurance-based, go to the insurance company's website, download their documentation guide and how they want you to write stuff. Make sure your note checks all the bells and whistles, make it a template. A lot of this already had the template set up in our EHRs where you can just download the PDF, copy, paste it, put it in Berries, and then Berries will remember that note format. And then you'll always be compliant, like insurance-based wise, or even, if you're not insurance-based, go to the insurance company's website, download their documentation guide and how they want you to write stuff. Make sure your note checks all the bells and whistles, make it a template. A lot of this already had the template set up in our EHRs where you can just download the PDF, copy, paste it, put it in Berries, and then Berries will remember that note format. And then you'll always be compliant, like those of us that are private pay with some insurance companies or out of network, they still can audit you. So you have to be sure you're following medical necessity guidelines. So this is a really good way to do it in a HIPAA compliant way. And it's super fast because it just records your session. You don't even have to write the note. It just puts all the information in the right spaces. You copy it, you paste it over to Practice or whatever EHR you're using. And it's that easy. So anyway, I hope that helps. Let me know what you think about this, having ChatGPT as your personal assistant or using Berries, HIPAA compliant for progress notes. All right. Talk to you guys later.